we're going to be replacing the quartz sleeve in the reactor of the Air Mobile Rescuer. First thing we're going to need is the 90-degree Phillips screwdriver, a adjustable wrench, and a pair of pliers. Another one to have is a long-handled screwdriver. This will come in handy for later. We'll use the Phillips screwdriver to remove the two bottom screws on the bottom of the reactor. This will gain access to the UV bulb. All right, remove the cup and set it off to one side. Disconnect all the electronics from the circuit board, and you should be able to do that by just pulling on that barrel connector. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the clip. If it's stiff, just undo it with a screwdriver just a little bit. We should be able to lift that up and away from the bottom of the UV bulb, and then use the pliers to remove the blade connectors from the pressure switch. And then we'll go ahead and pull out the whole assembly, bulb and ballast circuit board, and set it just to one side. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get out that adjustable wrench, make it adjust it to the right size for the nut, and start unscrewing both nuts, both top and bottom. And here's a view of the top one. Notice how the washer is flat, so this will come in handy later. Loosen both screws. You don't need to remove them because the reactor will slide off. So now we have both screws loose. We slide off the reactor. Use the pliers to remove the red clip. Notice how the red clip is positioned. It's kind of in between the light and the dark portion of the fitting. Then push down on the dark portion of the fitting and pull on the tube, and that will pull the tube out. So now we're going to go ahead and use that long-handled screwdriver that I mentioned before, shown here, and we're going to insert it into the bottom of the reactor cap, as shown. You can also use pliers, the wrench. This is very stiff, so you want to have something that has nice leverage to it. Do not try to attempt to remove the bottom cap using the black portion of the bottom cap. It will snap the fitting. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the leverage, and we're going to unscrew it counterclockwise and pull the whole bottom cap off of the tube and remove the mounting ring. Now here's the quartz sleeve. Let's assume that this quartz sleeve is broken. We're going to use some gloves to remove it. But the best way to do this is to hold on to it as shown here, and using your thumb to push on the bottom cap to slowly pull out the quartz sleeve. Now, if it's broken all the way down at the bottom, use a pair of pliers to do your best to get all the glass away from the O-rings. So that's why we're removing the O-rings, to make sure that these O-rings are nice and clean. There's nothing broken on them, like pieces of glass. Be gentle. Do not cut that little tube right there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start reassembling it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the O-rings back into their little slots. The bottom one goes all the way to the bottom. Notice that there's a little shelf at the bottom also. That's where the quartz sleeve is going to rest. When it's fully inserted, it's going to sit on the bottom of that, on the bottom of those little tabs, like a little shelf. So now we're going to put the bottom cover back on. Make sure that the retaining clip for the UV bulb is out of the way so that both of these screws will go in. We're going to install these. You can use the right-hand screwdriver if you want. That worked just fine. I used a regular Phillips screwdriver for this. We're going to grab the new quartz sleeve. We're going to insert the tube into the quartz sleeve, and then we're going to slide it in, and then we're going to gently, using some gloves, gently push down and rotate as shown here until you can feel that it's fully seated. You're going to feel it kind of slip through the O-rings until they finally pop in. I've done this more than 1,000 times. I've gotten the feel of it, and I'm very careful not to break that quartz sleeve. I can feel it through my hands before it does happen. I've done it once in 1,000 times that I've ever done it. So now we're going to pull the bottom cap off. We're going to return the mounting bracket to the bottom cap, we're going to make sure that fitting goes through that hole, and then we're going to screw this back into place. Now you're going to grab that long handle screwdriver again, and you're going to need to tighten this. So get as much leverage on it as you can, and tighten it as tight as possible. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the top off, and we're going to look down the tube and make sure that you didn't over tighten it, because what will happen is that O-ring that's at the bottom will squirt out one side if it's over tight. So as long as you don't see any squirting out of the O-ring, you should be fine, and that should be sealed. So now we're going to put everything back together. We're going to put the blue tube back into the bottom. We're going to put the retaining clip back on. Remember, it's going to go between the dark and the light, so that it's a sandwich, and that will lock that tube in so it won't come out. Then we're going to use this, we're going to slide this back onto the chassis, making sure that the washers are on the outside of the plastic. Stainless steel of the chassis, plastic, washer, and then a nut. So now we're going to tighten everything down. While we're doing this, we're going to pull towards us on the reactor so that the mounting bracket at the top is flush with the top of the metal. And we're going to do the same thing at the bottom. We don't need to pull this time because the top bracket is all tight. Making sure that the washer is correctly in place. Then we're going to grab the UV bulb, and we're going to insert it back into the reactor, but make sure that this little tiny tube is on that far side where I'm pointing. Now we're going to insert the UV bulb and capture it with that little plastic. It's actually a zip tie, believe it or not. And then we're going to plug in the barrel connector. We're going to do this first because it's easier, and then we're going to slide it into the slot that is there. We put kind of put the screwdriver through it, and then we're going to take these blade connectors and reconnect it to the pressure switch. Now we want to make sure that the wires are out of the way, and when we put the bottom cup on, that we're not going to cut any of those wires. So now we're going to reinstall the bottom cup using the right-handed screwdriver or a regular screwdriver. I'm going to tighten that down nice and tight. And that should be the end of replacement of the quartz sleeve. Thank you for watching.